I'm obsessed with learning. Helping your child blossom into the things that they love is the best path. Somebody called me weird. Amazing, right? You want to be weird. That's great.
If you could give one or two sentences on what your motivation is, what gets you out of bed every single day? Welcome to the Mike Kane Cast. I'm here with Evan Carmichael, the king of Believe Nation. How are you, sir?
Wow, I love it, dude. I'm great. Thank you for the energy.
Oh, it's my pleasure. You're bringing me a lot of energy every day with your videos, your top 10s, your other lists, and it's really fantastic to get a chance to talk to you. Now, where in the world are you right now?
Right now I'm in Toronto. That's my home physically. Born and raised, do a lot of traveling for my work and everything I do, but Toronto is my home.
Now, were you excited when the Toronto Raptors won the championship?
Yes. Here's the thing, though. I pay attention to very few things. So it's funny. I was working on my YouTube channel, and a friend of mine, John Asaraf, I don't know if you know John. He's in San Diego. He was in, I think it was in The Secret, or he talks a lot about that stuff. Anyway, I'm writing to John about his YouTube channel, and he writes back to me saying, "Hey, are you watching the game?" Which was at the time Toronto versus Milwaukee, and like I didn't even really know that the Raptors were in the playoffs.
Oh,
I watched
wow.
the last two games, which were crazy, and we won. It's amazing. But I care about 3 or 4 things and am ignorant about everything else in life.
That's pretty awesome. Now, what are those 3 or 4 things, if you don't mind me asking?
Great. Well, entrepreneurship for sure, and everything around it. YouTube for sure, and just amplifying messages. So YouTube and Instagram and social media, family stuff, my wife, what we're doing, our life. And if I had to pick a kind of hobby outside, I would pick League of Legends. If TSM was in the finals, I would know much faster than if the Raptors were in the finals.
That's incredible. I like that. I like the fact that you put your family a very high priority. That's excellent. That's great to hear. Now, you've been an entrepreneur for how many years now?
I don't know. A lot. I don't really look backwards. Those kind of questions I struggle with because I'm only in present and going forward and don't spend much time in the rearview mirror.
In that case, let's do it. What are you looking at when you look at technology for the next 20, 30 years? Are there any things that you're seeing right now that you don't think the ordinary person is getting a look at?
Ooh, I'm not good at that stuff. I don't
Okay.
know, man. I'm much more about what's working now. I mean,
All right.
if I was doing thought leadership stuff, right? If I'm you and I'm trying to get my show to even bigger levels, I'm looking at having the podcast, and I'm looking at video on YouTube and video on Instagram. And I think that's where you win now. And I think it's still underserved. I think there's still so much room for good voices that I'm sure in 20 years we're going to do this as VR, like we're going to be beaming into people's living rooms and high-fiving them and all that stuff. But I live in more like, what can I do right now to make an impact?
Beautiful. Today, what are some of the things that you see in the culture that we could use much, much more of?
Positivity, dude. Positivity, energy, hope, belief. I think there's more voices, but I think even from the start of this, I'm like, man, I love your energy, right? I want you to be out there more. I want more people to listen to the content you're creating. I think there's too much negativity in the system, and I think it's on us to combat that and to show a different way.
Now, do you get a lot of audience feedback? And do these folks, when they're talking to you, where do you see them gaining positivity from in their lives? Is it just YouTube and online lives, or are there other things that people you see out there are really deriving energy and personal power from?
I think everybody learns differently. So some people learn from YouTube videos. I'm a visual learner, so I much rather do video. Even being able to do a video here with you, even though it might be a podcast and audio only for some people, I like it better. If it was only audio and I couldn't see you, I'd be closing my eyes. I had to really focus in on what you're saying because I'm not an auditory guy.
Right.
But for some people, that's the best. And so however you learn best, lean in on it. As an example, people ask me, what podcast do I listen to? 0. I don't listen to a single podcast.
Oh, wow.
Because auditory is the worst for me.
Yeah, okay.
So I think people get too hung up on that. They feel like they're a loser if they're not listening to podcasts, or they're not reading books, or they're not watching videos. I'm obsessed with learning. So right now, I read 3 to 4 books a year, man. I listen to zero podcasts, but I'm obsessed with learning, and I get to learning through videos.
Oh,
Right?
wow.
Through what I'm making, because I'm such a visual guy. So I've hacked my own learning style. Now, my favorite entrepreneur of all time is AP Giannini. He's hanging on the wall behind me. There isn't video on him. If there was some weird old school audio recording of it, I would listen to that because it's the only way to get the information.
Sure.
Right? And so I would focus and close my eyes and shut out distractions and just try to listen to the message. But overall, now there's so many options for most of the things that you want to learn. I think the most important thing is, if you want more positivity in your life, hack how you learn. Some people is podcasts, some people is reading, some people's videos, some people it needs to be you're with somebody. Like tonight, I'm doing a workshop in Toronto. Every week in my city, if I'm in town, I do a free Q&A session for the public. Come ask me your questions, and I'm happy to help out. And for some people, that's the way. Like they need the community, they need to be around people. So whatever your learning style is, understand it, and then don't care about the other ways that other people learn, because you know how you learn.
Yeah. That's a great way. That's a great way of looking at it, because when I was in school, I think it was like if you didn't read it, you weren't gonna get it. Now with the preponderance of video and audio out there, man, you're right. It's 100% compatible to people's learning styles, and that's fantastic. Now, who are some of your favorite entrepreneurs? You mentioned AP Giannini. If you don't mind telling us a little bit about him, because I think maybe some of my audience won't be familiar with him.
Most of the world isn't familiar with it, man. So he started Bank of Italy. He came as an immigrant to the U.S. He started Bank of Italy. Why? So he was on the board of another bank called Columbus Savings and Loans, and he said, "Hey, I think we should lend money to immigrants." And they laughed him out of the room. They said, "Immigrants have no money. You can't lend money to immigrants. That's the stupidest thing of all time." And so being an immigrant, he said, screw this. He walked across the street and set up his bank right across the street from the Columbus Savings and Loans. He left their board, started Bank of Italy, and then he started lending money to hardworking immigrants and said, "Hey, I have money. Let's go. I trust in you. I believe in you." When there was a big earthquake in San Francisco and everything was destroyed, he went to his bank. People need money. Like if it's a big earthquake, your house is gone. What are you going to do? You need money. The banks are closed for multiple days. He went to his bank where the rubble was, set up 2 barrels and a plank of wood, and said, "I'm in business. Who needs money?" And he would lend money to people off of their handshake and a look in their eye. If you can imagine any bank saying, "I trust you," based off a look in their eye and a handshake, and then giving you a loan, right?
Oh my word, that's beautiful.
He gave money to a guy named Walt Disney that people didn't really know. When Disney wanted to create the first feature-length cartoon, which everybody thought was stupid, AP Giannini was the only one to go and fund Disney. He funded the Golden State Bridge when everybody thought it was crazy. So it's believe. My one word is believe. It's what my channel is all about. He's the believe banker. And I just really like that idea of betting on the little guy and betting on the guy with the ideas and seeing those things happen. And I got funny story. I got excited one day that I wanted to make a video on him, but there's no video because it's too old. There's no archives. And so I called Bank of America, because Bank of Italy became Bank of America. And so I called Bank of America and I said, "Hey, I want to make a video on AP Giannini. I have this YouTube channel. I got 1 million subscribers. Is there anything that you guys have in the vault or something that like I could pull together and turn into video content?" And they said, "Who's AP Giannini?" Like, are you kidding me? This is your founder, right? Like they don't even know. The PR department, it's not just some bank teller. So nobody knows who this guy is. It's not just you and not just your audience. And at some point I'll do more work to spread the message, but every time I get the chance to tell his story, I'm pretty pumped.
I'm excited to learn more about that. Do you have any advice? Some of my audience are parents, and they may have kids that are interested in entrepreneurship. What's some advice that you would give to those parents?
I would say helping your child blossom into the things that they love is the best path. So my parents were not entrepreneurs. They still aren't entrepreneurs, but they saw, for example, that I love baseball cards. In 92 and 93, I was 12, 13 years old. The Toronto Blue Jays were winning the World Series. Big deal. Baseball, at the same time the baseball cards were popping. So I was the baseball card entrepreneur. And they saw that, and they every weekend drove me 2 hours out of town to go to a baseball card tent sale where I would negotiate, for 50 cents with 40 and 50-year-olds as a 12-year-old. Somebody gave me $1. We have coin dollars in Canada, and it would have gum or dirt on the back. Like, I'll take that. Yeah, it's still $1. I'll clean it off, and still money.
That's right.
And so they encourage that in me and my two sisters, and I try to do the same thing with my son. So I have a 9-year-old son, and he loves drawing. I hate drawing. I suck at drawing. I'm not good at drawing. I would never draw. But when he's over, we're doing a Skillshare drawing course together, on how to draw eyes, right? And his are better than mine. But it's the encouraging of the thing that they are interested in. And I think that's step one. Step two is defending them against culture and society and norms. So with my son, if somebody calls him weird, we celebrate. Somebody called me weird. Amazing, right? You want to be weird. That's great. My parents, I remember when I got asked to do assignments in school and I didn't get a good grade, they would always try to clarify what was the assignment. And if it was me just not getting it or just a teacher not seeing my creative ways to solve the assignment because it was unclear. And so they gave me the shield to be who I was instead of forcing me to fit into the machine. And I'm super grateful to them.
That's fantastic. Now, do you get feedback from the people whose videos you present in your top tens?
So you mean the people I'm profiling?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I've formed partnerships with a huge chunk of them. So I think the first one we started working with the Tony Robbins' team way back. So if you go to Tony's YouTube channel, you look on the homepage of his YouTube channel, there's my video, the top 10 that I did on him, the first one. And that's become a relationship. I just came back from Dallas this past weekend. He had his Unleash the Power Within. He invited me to sit in the front row. Gary Vee and Grant Cardone, and I mean, a lot of these guys we've formed relationships with over the years because I'm helping spread their message, and they want the content out. For others, so for example, when we did Floyd Mayweather, he shared it on his account. 50 Cent. I don't know Floyd. I don't know 50 Cent personally, but they shared it. They put it out to their audience and they shared it. It doesn't surprise me either, though, because it's always meant to be a tribute.
Yeah.
It's never the 10 stupidest things that 50 Cent said. It's always a tribute. It's always positive. And so a lot of them have seen it. A lot of them we work with. And some of them have then gone on to share it with their fans and their audience as well, which is I'm super honored.
I love that. That makes me feel great because you're always bringing that positivity. And like you said, you're always bringing actionable stuff to the table from their work, which is really great. The question I have is, can you rank these three things in importance?
Okay.
Wisdom, knowledge, and imagination.
I would put imagination first. The other two I'd have to think about how I would define the difference between wisdom and knowledge. How would I define? I get so I care zero about definitions on things. So imagination though for sure, and then probably wisdom and then knowledge. But it would be a close fight between the two of those, for me personally.
Okay. And every day when you wake up and you decide not to hit the snooze bar and sleep in until 3, if you could give 1 or 2 sentences on what your motivation is, what gets you out of bed every single day?
My routine, to be honest, dude. I don't wake up and get out of bed and be like, yes, it's Thursday. This is the greatest day of all time. I wake up when I'm tired, man. I'm tired. I got stuff in my eyes. I got lines in my face. I gotta pee. I'm tired. But then I have a routine for myself that I go through 5 S's that sets me up to have a great day. And I think if you look at successful people, most of them don't wake up and like they're on fire, but they demand success from themselves, and they have habits, routines, and traditions that let them get there. And so I think this is where a lot of people fail, because they wake up and you say, well, I'm not motivated like Tony Robbins is when he first wakes up. Tony Robbins isn't motivated like Tony Robbins is when he wakes up, right? Like, he's tired, and then he has a routine. Like Tony Robbins jumps into a freezing cold pool of water every morning, and he never wants to do it, and he always does it. and that's part of his morning routine. And so successful people are just the same as everybody else, everybody listening. It's just they demand greatness from themselves through routines and rituals that they start with in the morning.
Now, when you look at YouTube and the platforms you're on,
Mm-hmm.
what are some of the things that have changed since you started that really excite you?
How much people are more willing to educate themselves instead of just entertain. I think when people are faced with a problem, what most of America does is tries to shut off the world, go binge watch Netflix, and pretend that your life doesn't exist for the next 4 hours while you get engrossed in somebody else's life. As opposed to, hey, I have problems in my life. I'm not just going to forget them. I'm going to fix them and build a better world for myself. Most people would rather be entertained than educated. Education, learning from shows like yours, from videos like mine, is what's going to get you to the next step, the next level in your life. But most people don't want to do that. They'd rather just shut off their life and be in somebody else's for a while. I'm so pumped that it's starting to shift. It's still the vast majority of people would rather be entertained than educated, but it's starting to shift. Even looking at YouTube, again, when I started 10 plus years ago in April 2009, most of the videos on the platform were stupid cat videos, man falls down icy steps, like just really short 30-second stupid stuff, because people have short attention spans and people don't want to learn and all this stuff. And yet now look at YouTube. There's so much more fantastic content that is out there. And with the blowing up of Instagram and podcasts and all these places, it gives somebody like you with positive energy a voice and a chance to be heard and a chance to spread that. And there's so many more people who now are seeing it as there is hope. I don't have to live the life my parents lived. I don't have to go work for this company forever and hate my life. Like, I could do something different. And I'm just super pumped, and I'm so excited for where it's going.
Where it shifted for me was when Joe Rogan's podcast, I had been watching it when it was just him in a hotel room on Justin TV talking on the road. And then it started to evolve into a podcast. And you could see the organic growth from 20 minutes here and there, all of a sudden up to 4.5 to 5 hour podcasts. And all the myths that I had told myself about attention span and about what people were willing to do or capable of doing with audio or video, that all went out the window with Rogan, because again, he wasn't drawing from just a selected sample of MIT scientists. He was drawing from the general population. So you got a sense that, okay, first of all, he's a great presenter, and he's a curious guy, which really, really helps a lot. At the same time, though, he's covering a wide range of topics in an interesting way, and he's doing it for a very long period of time by the standards of television or radio. And it gave me incredible hope that's possible. My experience, and tell me if this is the same for you, is that when I choose to entertain myself rather than educate myself, it comes from a place sometimes of fear. That is, I'm afraid of taking the horns and taking responsibility for the fact that the problem can be fixed. And I think, what are some ways that you can think of that might get someone over that hump from entertainment to education?
So the first step is acknowledging that it is fear, because you're really smart, and you'll find some really smart reason why you can't do that thing. Meanwhile, you're just afraid. Underneath it is, I'm just afraid. That's just BS. I could do it if I wanted to. But you're going to blame this and this and this. And there's some truth in those reasons why you're not doing it. But really at the core is just you're just afraid.
Yeah.
Where it shows up for me is at the beginning of any project, I don't like how messy it is. So as an example, yesterday, I'm writing a new book. I sent out my review copies to 30 of my friends and friends of friends to say, give me feedback. Help me make it better. I'm on a deadline. I got to get this book done. So yesterday I got all 30 copies back. And now I need to go through all of them and mark up and read it. I got to read my book basically 30 times in one day and take all the notes and see how to make it better. And at the beginning, I'm sitting there struggling with what's the best way to do it? What's the process? Should I read one at a time? Should I open up 30 and just go page 1 for 30? I'm trying to figure out. It's like, just go.
Yeah.
Just go. because spending 3 hours figuring out the process isn't going to work. Like now I've
Yep.
just wasted so much time. Just go. And so I know that it shows up in my life when things are messy. I try to organize it, and I'm great at organizing it, but I don't like the messiness. And so I need to remind myself, dude, you're just afraid that you don't have the perfect system. Come on, man, just go.
Yeah.
And that will be the conversation. And I posted it yesterday on my Instagram and my story, and then I just go and I do it. And so it's catching it, understanding where you hold yourself back, understanding where fear shows up in your life, and you're rationalizing it away and finding reasons why you shouldn't do it, but deep down you're just afraid. So where does it show up in your life? I mean, your life, but also the people listening, watching, and then try to catch it.
How do we bring this positivity and energy from the web to live audiences? That is, you've mentioned that you're going to be speaking in Toronto and that you do appearances. There's such great community online, and part of me, maybe I'm old school. I was born in 1980, and I think
Me too, man.
Yeah,
1980.
we're like that.
When?
January 12.
Okay, I'm May 20.
Okay.
So you're older than me.
So we're sort of that bridge age gap between analog and digital. We get the choice between two worlds almost, in a way that younger people don't necessarily and older people don't choose to. How do we, even if it's just selfish for our wedge generation, take some of the online community that we've developed and bring it to handshakes and hugs and campfires and fun? And
sure. So step number one is realize that you're already doing it.
Okay.
Like people listening to your show, they're getting an injection of positivity, and then they're going off and having a better day. People watch my videos, and then they have a better day. Joe Rogan created his podcast. You got inspired, and now you're off making your podcast. Like, it's already happening. You may not be able to see it, feel it, touch it, but it is already happening. So just, I love the push to get better, and the gratitude for the impact you're making is already great and real. The next step to then make it more physical for you is you just start.
Yeah.
Like, what city are you in?
I'm on Cape Cod, just outside of Boston.
Great. So there's tons of entrepreneurs, or whoever your audience is. It may not only be entrepreneurs, but there's tons of people who need help.
Yeah.
So I decided to do two things. One, whenever I travel, I always try to meet up with local people who've watched my videos. So I came back from Dallas. It's a free meetup. We had 25 or so people show up to my Richardson, Texas hotel, and we jammed for 2 hours in the lobby. I love that stuff. And it connects them. It leaves a little footprint that then connects them together, even though I may not be back to Richardson in my life.
Right.
But now they know each other a little bit more. And then two, when I'm in Toronto, my hometown, when I'm in the city, I do a weekly Q&A for free for an hour at my studio, and it's open to the public. Some people come once and never come back. Some people come every week. So in a couple hours, that's where I'm going to be. Just because I decided that I like that, and I want to have these communities, and I want to be a force for good. They're small little events typically, right? It's not 1,000 people showing up, but I like putting the face to the people who are watching my content and feeling the impact. So if that's you, then you could start a Cape Cod monthly meetup. Or once a month you go to Boston. Like one of my first meetups was in Boston at the Thinking Cup Cafe outside the Commons.
Oh my word.
We had 25 people or so show up, and we packed the front of the Thinking Cup, and it was great. And I met people who I'm still in touch with today. Some of them become customers, but it's not the goal of doing those things. And it's been awesome to see them grow and make connections to each other that you facilitated. So once a month you go to Boston and you do a meetup. There's tons of people there, and there's still a nice little community around where you are right now too.
Yes.
That you could do something local. And if it fills the soul, it's the right thing to do. Maybe you even make it a podcast. Like one of your shows once a month is with entrepreneurs that you bring on from your local area that you did at a meetup.
This is all fantastic, man. Thank you.
Cool.
Now, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but where can people find you and your awesome videos online?
Great. So listen, one, I always react to that sentence because you're not taking up my time.
Oh,
it's
okay.
Yeah. We get a lot in Canada because we say sorry a lot. Sorry for doing this. Sorry for that. right? What it matches is gratitude. Like, hey, I appreciate all this time that you're spending with me. If you were taking up my time, I wouldn't be here. So this is my own little pet peeve.
I love your attitude. That is really great. Thank you.
I think language matters, right? Because what you're trying to say is thank you for your time and your perspective and for coming on my show, not putting yourself lower, like you're taking up my time so I'm better than you in some way, right? It's your time too. We're here together. This is great.
Yeah.
So watching the language patterns.
Evan, thank you very much. This has been fantastic.
Appreciate the love, man. Thank you for your energy and your gift and everything that you're bringing out to the world, man. I appreciate you.
My pleasure.
If you want to book a one-on-one interview with me for your channel, I promise I'm going to give you the best energy, motivation, ideas, strategies that I have. I have a free and a paid option. Go check out the link right there next to me to book your time. I'll see you there.